Myself, Jess Brennan, Bill McPartland, Jason Moskowitz, Janet Wynn, Lena Finnan, Michelle Martinelli, Josh Panisha, Diane Percy, Eric Amberger, Matt Yeto, Ray Smith, Courtney. Did I miss anybody? Lori, Laura. And how are you, Leslie? All right, so what are we starting with here? Public Works. Public Works, Matt. This is a special meeting. So we're no, I think it's something different. That one's for them.
Go ahead, Matt.
All right, so the first item is a tentative resolution to appoint the Deputy Superintendent of Water and Sewer. I have a very good applicant that I'm working with right now, and I'm pretty sure he will take the position. So hopefully by the end of the month, I'll have a name for the board, and we can move forward with that. Next item is a tentative resolution to execute an independent contractor agreement in the engineering department. This is to bring back, potentially bring back Kathy Persons to the office to help with the transition. She's recently retired. A few hours here and there to help with coming up to speed and some of the practices that have gone on for years. So waiting for some final information on that, and if it's available and ready to go, we'll have on for resolution. The next one is a tentative resolution to appoint a maintenance worker in the Water and Sewer Department. Been interviewing a couple different candidates, and I have one applicant that I think might fit the bill. If that works out, I'll share the name with the board before the meeting. Let's see. The next one is the resolution to approve the fourth quarter of 2024 corporate warrant. This is for the large corporate accounts for the water and sewer bills. Chris has put the numbers together. I've checked them. Everything looks good, and it's just a standard resolution. The next one is a resolution to authorize an MOU with Knowles regarding mercury testing. I've mentioned this a few times in the last few months. It's just a MOU that allows Knowles at no cost to the town to sample their wastewater for mercury. I got word today that they are finally done with the review, and we should be able to go forward with that agreement. The next one, number 6, I do not need that resolution. The repairs to the roll-off truck came in quite a bit less than I expected, so there was no resolution necessary. And the last one is a resolution to authorize replacement of a pump at the Water District 3 pump station. We replaced one pump. We got the authorization last year to replace one pump. We finally had the pump delivered and installed earlier this week. Everything went well. And the second pump is the same age as the last one, which is 40 years old. So I'd like to go ahead and replace that one now. We did budget that in this year's budget for that cost. And that's all I have. Are there any questions? We generated those in-house, and I had those. Yep. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Number 8, tentative resolution to hire grounds worker. I have an application which I turned into Janet, which is coming to you, Elena. So hopefully that's our last position will be filled. No, what's up? Okay.
That's the last one that you have open?
Huh?
That's the last one that you have open?
That's the last one.
Wow, good work.
Number 9, a resolution award mowing contracts for Baker Avenue and Dean Street Park. We're going to push this till March. Okay. Number 10, a resolution to accept bid extensions and paving for milling services in 2025. I got most of them. I didn't get all my replies yet, so I'm going to push this to March as well. Services won't be needed until sometime in April, so end of April or May. Number 11, a resolution to authorize the surplus of highway and parks equipment. I turned in a list. You got that?
Yep, resolution.
Okay. And I had one more I put in your mailbox was quotes for seed fertilizer, and let's just hold on to that. We'll do that one in March as well with these other ones. Okay. I put it in your box today, but let's hold off and do these all together. Okay.
Great.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Number 12 is a resolution to hire a recreation leader. This will be Zoe, our pool manager. She and I have already been working on talking about staffing, sending out letters to the prior year staff. So this is a big task. So she and I have to hit the ground running early. So that's why I have her on a resolution. Number 13 is a tentative resolution to approve the updates to the town's facility use manual. A ton of man hours have gone into this revision. So we're praying that it could be done by the end of the month. The reason to get it done as quickly as we have, because as soon as we have it done, then we can set the rates and open up registration for the leagues to reserve their fields. So it's kind of time sensitive. So we're hoping to get it done.
You guys will have this early too, so you can see what the revisions are, but we added some information about tournaments and a different set of fees for tournaments. We added a 3-strike rule, which is if there's violations of certain sections 3 different times, then we don't have agreements with that club any longer. And then of course the fees that we're still trying to figure out the right balance with. So we'll have some modifications to that as well, but I'll get it to you early before the packet goes out, just so that you have it. I have a track changes version, but it's very ugly, so it might be easier to just read through it.
Elena, how is your time frame with that? Looking at,
She'll have it tomorrow, but I can actually send you a version tonight to look at too.
we're okay?
Hopefully.
Thank you.
It's tentative, but we're hoping.
Okay.
Right. And number 14 is a resolution to accept donations for the town senior center. The senior center was part of the, what did they call it? When you drop up your
Roundup.
coins, roundup.
Round up.
And it was for the last quarter, and they were given $3,054 by the co-op. And they also received CDPHP a donation for $9,000, some to be put towards recreation or exercise, and some to be put towards the meal plan. So that's just to accept these donations. Does anybody have any questions?
No, one of the donations came in will come in the form of rolling gift cards.
Yes.
So we're trying to figure that out, because I think the idea originally with the senior center was to kind of hand out the gift cards as needed to seniors who might be in need, but we can't
Right.
do it that way. So we're going to come up with an alternative. We just haven't figured it out yet. It's sort of a weird problem to have, I guess a good one, but
Right,
just,
absolutely.
so if you see a change in that, that's why it's changing. It's just because we're trying to figure out the gift card thing.
Okay.
Okay, good. Okay.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? All right. Thank you.
Okay, number 15 is a resolution to authorize a planned unit development application for 2757 Aqueduct Road. We talked about this actually 2 months ago, but I didn't realize that it had to have a formal recommendation from the planning board. It's a little bit bigger of a process than I realized, but this is essentially the town board authorizing the applicant to make an application. The planning board looked at it over the last 3 planning board meetings. Last night, they made a recommendation that the use that's 200 or so right now proposed condominiums right next to River's Ledge, that the use of condominiums is appropriate for that area. It's better than industrial, and it makes more sense than single family homes in the R2 zoning district there. They like the protection of the extra open space, and the PUD has a lot of flexibility. They want to see access to the Mohawk River there. They probably do need to reduce their number of units. It's probably a little too intense, and the clustering of the buildings is probably a little too tight. And there is a big unknown with the wetlands, but like in total and balance, the planning board does recommend that you authorize the application for a PUD, and they can work on some of those things. But generally speaking, they felt the use was appropriate. So I'll get that resolution over to you guys quickly so you can look at it. But the 16 is a resolution to set the 2025 town designated engineer rates. I was just waiting on 2 from last month, and I did receive them, so that is ready to go. And number 17 is a resolution to support the creation of an underground railroad byway through Niskayuna. This request came through the Schenectady County's historian. There's an organization in Albany that has been working on creating a byway for the Underground Railroad that goes from New York City all the way through here, follows the rivers and the railroads to Harriet Tubman's house, which I think is in Auburn, New York, and then all the way over to somewhere around Buffalo. And they're talking about essentially like railroads. Actual railroads were used in the Underground Railroad quite a bit in order to get the slaves to Canada. So they would like to designate basically that portion of Niskayuna that follows the multi-use path from Colony up to the Rexford Bridge, and the Lions Park train station would be a stop. So that would be pretty cool. They do think that it does have some history with the Underground Railroad and some stories in Niskayuna. And so what they need is for each municipality that would be touched by the Underground Railroad byway to offer a letter of support for its creation. Potentially does offer up some grants to fix the Lions Park if it's part of a byway. We already have a byway for anybody who's wondering. The Mohawk Hudson byway, which goes from like Watervliet west. They can overlap, and they don't hurt us. They don't cost us any money, but they do bring tourism. So. Number 18 is a resolution to set fees for the short-term rental permits. As I was putting the finishing touches on the applications, I realized that we have not passed a resolution for the fees. We don't put fees in the actual code because it is so difficult to amend the zoning code. So the fees were required to be set by resolution for the town board. So we can do that at the end of the month. I had an idea of the fee that I wanted to charge based on what we charge for most of our permits, but we're going to do a quick gut check to see what the other towns charge for their rental permits and make sure that ours is fair and appropriate. And then we'll have that number for you guys by the end of the month. Number 19 is a resolution to create a Paul Schaefer Homes Committee. This is mostly from David DiArpino. There are a lot of people in the town of Niskayuna that love their Schaefer homes, want to keep working on the Schaefer Home Recognition Plaque Program, want to make sure that we're documenting them and, helping people who own them be proud of them. Doesn't restrict people's property in any way, just keeping track of all the information and making a database and putting people who love Paul Schaefer homes together in a happy place. So that would be a resolution to create that committee that would be run by David DiArpino and some volunteers from the town. Number 20 is a ceremonial resolution to recognize Market 32's landscaping and maintenance efforts at Market 32 Place. It's really hard to tell because we have a lot of snow right now. But the Tree Council has wanted to put forth a resolution recognizing Market 32's landscaping for a couple months now. In the summer, they took over the plaza and they redid the landscaping. They pulled all of the dead and old trees out and replanted new trees and more trees. And they did best practices for their landscaping, and they used native species. And very unusual, they watered them all summer long. They had their truck out there almost every morning because it's a very dry summer, and that's why those things didn't die. So the Tree Council just wanted to make that extra effort to recognize that that's our town center overlay district, and they really did a good job. We can put it on March if we're getting really short on time and we're running out of And we were just really, but the tree council really does want to make sure that people know that Market 32 really put in a big effort to make that look nicer and maintain it. I just realized that I have been working very hard on appointing a building inspector, and I don't have it, I don't have it on here as a resolution, but I have been doing interviews and working with Kara and Aaron on what the hours could be and how we can make the building inspector work. This is the part-time position. We are trying to up the hours, possibly to a full-time, because we just have a lot that's coming in with the improvements to our commercial and industrial areas, and we're still behind on our fire inspections. And this is a recommendation of our existing part-time building inspector, just not able to carry the load that we have in our department. And we also think that there are potential retirements up and coming. So I don't really expect to need a full-time building inspector for many years to come, but I'm hoping that I could have one to catch us up and keep us going through this big bump that we're having right now for the industrial development, and then take over when a building inspector retires. I did just change the posting from part-time to full-time, and I got 2 more applicants. So we're going to try and interview them tomorrow and then have a name for you by the end of the week. Any questions on any of those?
Is it budgeted for one or the other, or is it?
So
the-
no, but
Okay.
we have the
Well, the part-time is
Gee,
budgeted.
the part-time is budgeted, but the difference between the two, so GE, the work that they're doing on their property is going to be a lot of, they're renovating the inside of a lot of the inside of buildings. I think they're building a couple other things outside, but most of it is inside. And they are going to have to go through the building, all of that inspection process. So it's going to be a lot of inspections and a lot of revenue from the inspections. So we're pretty comfortable that we could afford, and then some, supplementing to full-time for this year and next year. And, if there are retirements after that, they would fall into that position. We wouldn't necessarily rehire. It would kind of collapse.
We also think that ramping up the fire inspections is going to be very hard, because we tried to have Fire District 1 do them for us. We did that memorandum of understanding. It just never ended up working. And so there's a number of buildings that haven't had a fire inspection. And so the first fire inspection is going to have violations that have to be followed up on. But once you get them in an annual cycle, we would expect that the violations and the workload would decrease. But the initial workload is going to be very heavy, and we keep trying to take it on. It's just too much for us right now.
Are we charging a fee on these fire inspections?
So that actually came up in one of our interviews when we were doing a potential memorandum of agreement with Fire District 1. We talked about charging fees. We do them now, and we don't charge fees. But
Town of Colony charges it,
so does the town of Half Moon.
and the
so-
fire inspector gives you the bill when he comes to your property.
And I think that's very fair, because it is a lot of work. Like, we bought the extra module because we were going to have Fire District 1 do them for us. And, it just hasn't worked to not have it be in our department. But yeah, I think charging for the fire inspections and charging for returns for violations after maybe 1 or 2 is reasonable, and other towns do it. And I would definitely recommend that we do that as well.
Yeah, any county, the return visit is included if you
Once,
have some violations,
probably.
right? And they have to come back. They don't charge you, but if you haven't taken care of, then they may charge you to come back again.
Right. So like, you would get, okay, here's your violations. You have 10 days to fix these things. You come back in 10 days, they're all fixed. No extra charge. You come back in 10 days and they haven't been fixed, and then you have to come back again. Then maybe you have a repeat charge because they're not listening to you. Yeah. I could try and have that on for the end of the month too, if that's helpful. It certainly would help, I think, offset some of those. I haven't really looked into the fees, but definitely other towns do them.
For a small commercial property, it's $100 in Colony. I don't know what their fee is, if it's based on size of buildings or that kind of thing, but I'm sure you could find that out.
Yeah, I think Half Moon is similar. It's between 100 and 200. I was like, that's about the recommendation I had for the short-term rentals too. so I can check and make sure that it's all right and normal.
We could probably push it to March too. That way we're not trying to cram
Yeah.
too much in. Just because it's a weird month with the school break in between,
We
it's
have,
like
like,
screwing everything up.
35 resolutions on, and I'm out next week. And I know a
Yeah,
couple other
right,
department
right,
heads are out
right.
next
Next week,
week.
too.
So March it is.
That can be March.
Okay, I'll put that on for my economic development committee then. But I think that is a good idea. It has come up, and I definitely think we should do that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Good evening, everyone. Number 21 is a resolution to accept Schenectady County Stop DWI grant monies. This is a resolution we do every single year with our partnership, Schenectady County Sheriff's Department. That number is $13,250. Again, these monies go to directed DWI patrols and greater enforcement on roads to keep them safe. I mentioned in our committee meeting, we put out some overtime details for Super Bowl. We actually had 2 DWI arrests over Super Bowl weekend. So this is important funding to continue to maintain our roads and keeping people off them that shouldn't be driving. Number 22 is a resolution to award a contract for the police vehicle maintenance. This is going to be determined if you want to spend Valentine's Day with Michelle and I in this room opening envelopes this Friday when all of the bids are in. Number 23 is a tentative resolution to authorize the purchase of 2 police vehicles utilizing grant money. This is the Burn Grant. We have 2 vehicles that we can buy through the Onondaga piggyback contract through Robert Greene. The total amount for the 2 vehicles is $91,107.52. These vehicles are going to be specific for our traffic and community engagement division. They're going to be a little bit different than what we traditionally buy because it's a particular need that we're going to be using them for. And we're excited to get those as soon as we can. This is only for the purchase, not for the outfit, just to be clear, of those 2 vehicles. Number 24 is a tentative resolution to authorize the purchase of taser equipment utilizing grant money. Again, this is the Burn Grant, something we've discussed openly. The total cost for a 5-year agreement through taser is $132,690. This is a little bit different. The reason, just to go into a little bit of depth, the current tasers that we purchased, I believe we have 8 or 9. Our contract has since expired. We feel that it's more appropriate, and this is why I applied for the grant, to actually issue a taser per officer that's on the road. So it's their assigned equipment that they need to maintain in conjunction with the department. Currently, you check them out every single day, so they get pretty banged up very quickly, and the tracking of them is kind of difficult. So this would, again, issue per officer that's on the road to have a taser. Some of the neat equipment that's coming with it, this 5-year agreement gives us virtual reality headsets to do training with our officers for live scenarios and things of that nature. It includes all of our training equipment for the 5-year agreement, including cartridges. The only thing it doesn't include, and I want to mention this out loud because we're going to have to budget for in 2 years, is the instructors. The certification for it is only good for 2 years. They will not build it into this to do another instructor certification 2 years from now. It's a company, they're making money, and this is what they do, right? But it's basically a maintenance-free agreement for 5 years with completely grant funded. Number 25 is a tentative resolution to enact changes to the town peddlers and solicitors code. Town Attorney Finnan, Town Clerk Michelle Martinelli have been working on that. Number 26 is a tentative resolution to call for a public hearing regarding the creation of a school speed zone at Rosendale Elementary School. It's really for, Elena put Rosendale Elementary School, but it's really for both campuses because they butt up to each other. This was something that was brought to us many moons ago, and it's sort of been on the back burner for a while. I did reach out to the county some time ago. They're absolutely in support of doing something like this. We ran some data out there, and I think it definitely substantiates some sort of change to that area based on the fact that we actually have peak volumes and speed during school drop-off and pickup times. I said in the committee, I'm not blaming parents for that. That's also commuting times. But we saw that there was a substantial increase in people driving over 40 miles an hour in that area during drop-off and pickup times, which only bodes to say that we all need to slow down and maybe we need to make it a school zone. One of the things that I had the pleasure of attending recently with Laura was that linkage study for Route 7. And obviously Rosendale running parallel to Route 7, things like this are going to play a role in conjunction with each other as we potentially move forward with other things on Route 7. for pedestrian and bicycle safety and things of that nature. Number 27 is a resolution to appoint a police officer. I'm happy to say we have another candidate that has successfully completed all of our background, medical checks, and everything else. The best news of all, besides the fact that he's a fabulous young guy, is the fact that he's a town resident. So he is coming to us from the Saratoga County Sheriff's Department. He has 1 year on there. His name is Evan Pettis. We are working with civil service. There is a meeting next week where they're going to, knock on wood, approve his lateral transfer over. I have to give a quick shout out, as I did in my committee. Vinny Daly was the one who recruited him because they are neighbors. And Vinny did a lot of good banging on the door and getting him to kind of reach out to us. And we started talking. And here we are now a couple months later, and we're looking to hire him. So we're excited about that. Number 28 is a tentative resolution to enact changes to the town code that would create a no parking zone on a portion of Onondaga Road. We know we talked about this in past meetings. It's approximately 200 feet from the last driveway, which I believe is 1021 Onondaga Road, through Route 7. And that's for visibility concerns. We had residents that attended our committee meeting, one of which actually accidentally ran into a bicyclist because she couldn't see at that location. And the committee felt that it was appropriate maybe to make these changes. And I also spoke with town planner Laura Robertson because there's other projects going on over that area. And she felt that this was an appropriate change as well. Number 29 is a ceremonial resolution recognizing Sergeant Jeff Relation for his many years of service. I spoke about this a couple meetings ago. Unfortunately, Sergeant Relation was unable to attend last month's meeting, so we had to push this one to this month. But we're excited for him to come to the meeting and do the ceremonial resolution. Do you want to speak about the one tonight, or do you want me to?
I think you always say it nicer than I do. I'm fumbly tonight, so you got.
So we received an email from Assemblyman Smolin. It was myself, Town Attorney Finnan, and the town supervisor. If anybody doesn't know that last name, Assemblyman Smolin's son was the one who tragically lost his life on Route 7 by being struck by a vehicle. And Assemblyman Smolin is pushing forth legislation to create, in his son's honor, the ability for families who have lost somebody tragically due to motor vehicle crashes to put up a public display sign message of something to do with public safety. So buckle up, please slow down, something to that effect. At the bottom of the sign, it would say in memory of the lost family member, friend, or loved one. We spoke about it extensively. We think it's a great way to support grieving families through this process and also get out really good public display messages at the same time. Just so we're clear, the legislation has a time prescribed in it so that the sign is not there indefinitely. It stays up for 2 years. It's purchased by the family. And then when the sign expires, essentially at 2 years, it's returned to the family. So it's generally moving forward going to be at limited to no cost to the municipalities that this may affect statewide. We spoke to Superintendent Ray Smith, and he's always very generous in his sign making abilities and ordering. We're going to get a sign, and we're going to do an unveiling on Route 7, probably most likely March 3rd for this one.
How big is this sign?
So it's probably the size of a speed limit sign is kind of what we had said. Yeah, it's got to meet DOT standards.
DOT approval,
Mhm.
right? Okay.
Yeah. One of the things, and I just want to mention this out loud because I think it's important because we've actually gotten feedback from town residents and even some first responders, believe it or not. There's a lot of memorials that get set up sort of ad hoc by families and friends and things of that nature. And there's not a lot of control mechanisms for those things or who's responsible for controlling those things. Obviously, the town of Niskayuna is not in the business of taking down a memorial, right? DOT doesn't want to take down memorials. They don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Having a program like this really gives the ability for families to have that moment and put up, again, a good public display message, but with a time constraint on it to then kind of continue through the process moving forward. So I think it's great legislation. So does anybody have any questions? No?
March 3rd is when we kind of tentatively
Yes.
said it. We could potentially be having an unveiling just in case you guys want to
March
attend.
3rd at noon, I believe was.
Noon?
I
Yeah.
believe that was the time that was indicated.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right. There you go. Come on up.
So we have a resolution to authorize certain budgetary modifications and interfund transfers, a tentative resolution to appoint a network analyst, a resolution to surplus certain equipment at Town Hall, a resolution to establish a standard workday for elected and appointed officials. That should be workday, not date. And I'm going to add, because I don't see it on here, a tentative resolution to appoint the Bonadito Group to conduct the annual financial audit for 2024.
All right, those are ones we went over before, so if you guys don't have any questions, I'll take a motion to adjourn the agenda meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have to do another one, right?
Michelle's got to come up.